to ask you this as a judge. Is it a good idea to provide amnesty for whoever who had broken the law for the sake of national reconciliation?
You know, no. I don't believe, I think there's some huge crimes. When you're looking at crimes of genocide and some crimes against humanity, I don't believe that you can grant amnesty, and certainly not without the victims agreeing. So I think it depends on the level of criminality, whether amnesty is a good idea. I mean, if you put to me an extreme case, if you could save tens of thousands of lives by granting amnesty, who would say no? But in principle, from a moral point of view, I don't believe people should be granted amnesty for any crimes at all.
Where's the current situation now in South Africa in terms of social integration?
Yes, absolutely. If you visited South Africa today, it would be hard to believe that there was an apartheid situation. There's still obviously too many black South Africans who are living in squalor. There's too much unemployment. But that's the economic position, not the legal position. I've got young grandchildren, and I feel foolish trying to explain to them what life was like in the apartheid system, because they can't understand how people could be so stupid.
Now, you then serve as the first chief prosecutor of the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia and later Rwanda. Did you achieve what you set out to do?
Well, you know, I came to that in a very unusual way. I'd never prosecuted. As I said to you, I was a commercial lawyer. I knew nothing about international humanitarian law, and I knew nothing about the former Yugoslavia. But they couldn't find a prosecutor who was acceptable to the Security Council at that time, in 1994. And eight people had been rejected by the Security Council from 8 different countries. And somebody suggested to the Secretary General, then Boutros Ghali, if they could find a South African who was supported by Nelson Mandela, it would go through the Security Council. And I had no interest. I wasn't going to do it because I was not the appropriate person. And my telephone rang, and it was President Mandela, and he said he understands I've been approached. And I said, yes, I'm busy refusing. And he said, well, not so quickly. He said, I've told the Secretary General that you will do it. So that's how I became effectively the first chief prosecutor at a time when I was not the appropriate person to do the job. But I had no option. I don't know anybody who would refuse any request from President Mandela. So it was a very steep learning curve.
Did you achieve what you actually intended?
Oh yes, no. Well, I achieved in setting up the office and starting investigations and getting out the first indictments, including, I might say, the 2 indictments against Karadzic and Mladic. So I was very delighted a few weeks ago when Mladic was eventually arrested and sent for trial in The Hague.
Do you think these tribunals can ensure justice around the world?
Well, certainly the Yugoslavia Tribunal and the Rwanda Tribunal began the basis of new international criminal justice and led directly to the International Criminal Court that now has 115 members of the United Nations organizing it, members of the court. So yes, I think the Yugoslavia Tribunal was the beginning of a new world of international justice.
You also took on the task of the report on Gaza, where you were criticized by many people. Do you regret ever taking on that job?
No, I don't. I think it was necessary that it's necessary for all war crimes allegations to be investigated. It was very difficult, particularly in the absence of any cooperation from the Israel government side. But it had to be done, and I have no regrets about doing it.
Now, not everything you do or you did actually receive praise. You were criticized a lot as well. How do you handle all the pressure?
People who lose judgments, whether it's civil cases in the domestic courts or in international courts, people don't like losing. And you have to blame somebody, and the last person you blame is yourself, so you blame the judge or you blame the lawyer. But it's part of the job.
You think it's just part of the job?
Yeah.
That's the way you handle the pressure? Just
well, one has to, as long as one has to live with oneself, if one does the best one can, you have to take the consequences.
So teaching must be a much more peaceful
That's much more peaceful and
profession
much,
for you.
Absolutely. It's the most enjoyable thing I've ever done.
Really?
And I've only come to teaching in the last 7 years. I'd never taught before then. But I'm really enjoying you influencing, you mixing with young, bright young people from many countries. And it really is very enjoyable.
What do you find most pleasurable about teaching?
I think firstly, being able to do it, having the opportunity, but being with bright young people and talking to them and helping them and following their careers, I get tremendous achievement from that.
You have received numerous awards and honors for your work, but what is it that you want people to understand about justice?
What I want people to understand about justice is really that the customers of justice are the victims, and victims are entitled to justice. They're entitled to the acknowledgement that justice can bring them. You know, why do people complain when the victims of injustice or victims of crime? They want the public acknowledgement of what happened to them. They know what happened to them, but they want other people to acknowledge it.
When other people in other countries look at South Africa, what should be the main lesson that we can learn?
I think the main lesson to be learned from South Africa was that there's no problem that is so intractable that it cannot be settled. I think all problems can, with good leadership, can be overcome. And that's certainly the lesson from South Africa. We in South Africa wouldn't have believed in the late 1980s that there would be the end of apartheid in a relatively peaceful way. So it should be an optimistic lesson for any country in the world that is faced with problems.
As you said, you were lucky to have good leaders with good leadership.
Right.
What if in my country, in my situation, I don't think we have any such leaders?
Well,
where do we even start?
well, you know, one never knows. I think if good leaders can come from anywhere. We didn't know we had good leaders of that caliber until they emerged. So that's also the hope that tomorrow you may have the leaders that you don't have today.
Any advice for countries trying to find a way out, or at least bridging people together?
Well, certainly the international community can assist, but ultimately no solution can be found without local people being involved and giving the leadership.
A very important takeaway from Judge Goldstone is that nothing is impossible. Even the apartheid era in South Africa can be overcome, and all parts of society can be reconciled in South Africa. So maybe here too in Thailand, if all sides actually participate sincerely, we can overcome our conflicts and our differences in the past and move ahead together into the future. See you next time. สวัสดีค่ะ